Now, supporters of the veteran London MP Diane Abbott protested today outside the Labour conference in Liverpool. The MP for Hackney North and Stoke Newington lost the Labour whip in April after writing a letter to a paper which said Jewish people don't suffer racism. Our political correspondent Simon Harris is in Liverpool.
Although she's still a party member, Diane Abbott isn't allowed to sit in Parliament as a Labour MP, and she's not at the conference. Britain's longest-serving black MP recently claimed Sir Keir Starmer was trying to stop her standing at the next election. He told me last week the investigation into her comments was ongoing, but her supporters say 6 months on, she still hasn't been spoken to.
We did unanimously reselect Diane as our MP. We understand that there was offence caused and obviously the situation with the letter was bad, but Diane has apologised. We are hoping that people will accept that apology, and we would like to see her go through a fair process, which means the situation could be resolved, so we know who our MP will be.
Someone else who is at the conference is the Mayor of London. Sadiq Khan will be speaking at a number of fringe events just months after Sir Keir Starmer blamed his ULEZ extension for Labour's failure to win the Uxbridge by-election.
Well, what is happening in the Middle East has left many Jewish Londoners fearful. In Golders Green, a bridge has been graffitied with the words Free Palestine, just yards from a kosher restaurant that had its windows smashed overnight. The Met says it has increased patrols in several locations to provide reassurance to communities. Here's our correspondent Simon Harris.
The police had promised London's Jewish community there would be more patrols, officers would be more visible. But it wasn't enough to protect a kosher restaurant in Golders Green from attack. Lying amid the shattered glass was a large gas canister, possibly the weapon.
Despite the increased police presence, these things happened. And the question is, why? And was that police presence enough?
The Met said it wasn't treating the attack as a hate crime, but as a smash and grab. The cash register was stolen. But a visit by the government security minister, Tom Tugendhat, underlined fears that anti-Semitism was the motive.
The timing is more than coincidental that, given what's happening in the Middle East, that we have a kosher shop attacked here in the heart of Golders Green.
Nearby, a bridge carrying the Northern Line was daubed with the words Free Palestine. That graffiti police are treating as a hate crime.
There is an enormous amount of fear and anxiety across the Jewish community because of events in Israel where so many of us have friends and family, and because we know from experience that events like that often lead to an increase in anti-Semitism here in Britain.
If you're a Jewish Londoner and you see a Jewish business damaged this way, glasses being smashed, it brings back the trauma of what your forefathers went through in the 1930s, and it's really important we recognise there is no place in our city for hate crime.
The Mayor was speaking in Liverpool, where he's spending 3 days at the Labour conference. Sadiq Khan urged any Jewish Londoners who feel frightened to call the police. And at a meeting here, he also took aim at his Tory rival after a comment she made at last week's Conservative conference.
I know how frightened some of the community is because of the divisive attitude of Sadiq Khan.
Susan Hall was speaking at a Conservative Friends of Israel event.
I think the idea of weaponising Jewish people is wrong. And my fear is we may be seeing from the Conservatives a rerun of the 2016 mayoral contest.
A spokesperson for Susan Hall said Susan is proud to celebrate London's diversity and will always speak up for anyone who feels unsafe. As Mayor, she will tackle the bread and butter issues we all care about, making our streets safer and putting money back in your pocket. Scotland Yard said its officers were looking at CCTV footage from cameras close to the kosher restaurant. And Sadiq Khan said he was in close contact with the Met.
Simon, how significant do you think this response from Labour is? Because, I mean, let's face it, it is quite different, isn't it, from years past?
What we've heard from senior party figures here in Liverpool is a clear and emphatic message that Labour has moved a long way since the days when Jeremy Corbyn was the party leader. There was immediate condemnation of the terrorist attacks by Hamas and vocal backing for Israel. And Sadiq Khan was also quick to declare his support for London's Jewish community. It was interesting to note today that while the Met says at this stage it isn't treating the attack on the kosher restaurant in Golders Green as a hate crime, the Mayor drew drew a clear parallel with Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass in Nazi Germany in 1938, when Jewish homes, businesses and synagogues had their windows smashed. He also said that his underlying message that whatever is happening in the Middle East, it mustn't be allowed to spread division and hatred to London. Anyone who tries to do that should expect to face the full force of the law. And he went on that while there is nothing wrong with legitimate protest, support for Hamas, which is a proscribed terrorist organisation, is illegal.
Simon, in Liverpool, thank you very much.
Well, the uncertainty in Israel was top of the agenda for Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer today, but his big speech was thwarted by a protester who threw glitter over the Holborn and St Pancras MP as he took to the stage. A 28-year-old man from Surrey has been arrested. From Liverpool, here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
The Labour leader was about to make one of the most important speeches of his career. Sir Keir Starmer's audience was cheering when a man suddenly appeared on stage.
True democracy is citizen-led. Politics needs an update.
After showering Sir Keir in glitter, the protester was pulled to the floor and then literally dragged from the stage, still shouting.
Let people decide!
Sir Keir, now sparkling under the stage lights, tried to brush away the glitter and then abandoned his jacket altogether.
If he thinks that bothers me, he doesn't know me.
Sir Keir, his hands coated in glitter, said he was shocked and appalled by the terrorist attacks in Israel.
This party believes in the two-state solution, a Palestinian state alongside a safe and secure Israel. But this action by Hamas does nothing for Palestinians, and Israel must always have the right to defend her people.
It earned the Labour leader a standing ovation. Sir Keir promised the Labour government would deliver what he called a decade of renewal, including 1.5 million new homes, some of them in new towns.
Sometimes the old Labour ideas are right for new times. So where there are good jobs, where there is good infrastructure, where there's good land for affordable homes, we'll get shovels in the ground, cranes in the sky and build the next generation of Labour new towns.
That's what Liam and Issy wanted. They're both members of Sir Keir's local Labour Party in his Holborn and St Pancras constituency.
The best part for me, I think, was a real commitment to reform planning, and that's not just in the field of housing but of infrastructure as well.
My generation are absolutely hopeless now at the possibility of getting onto the property ladder, which is something that we really do need to change, and 1.5 million homes is exactly the step in the right direction.
What did you make of the interruption and how he dealt with that?
I think he dealt, in the words of Taylor Swift, he shook it off, so I think he dealt really well with it.
At the end of his speech, Sir Keir was joined on stage by his wife Victoria. Merseyside police said a 28-year-old man from Surrey was being held on suspicion of assault, breach of the peace and causing public nuisance.
So Simon, what's the latest on that arrest?
Well, Charlene, the protester was wearing a T-shirt with the words "People Demand Democracy," which is a small group demanding the abolition of the House of Lords. And that organisation has identified him as Yas Ashmawi, who is from Surrey. He's also believed to be a member of Extinction Rebellion. The protest does, of course, raise questions about security. Here was somebody able to grab hold of a politician who might be Britain's next Prime Minister. There are security checks to get into the conference, but so long as you've got an official pass, you're unlikely to arouse suspicion. And Labour has been very keen to talk up the size of this conference, pointing out that more passes have been issued here than ever before. Charlene.
OK, Simon, thanks very much.
Now, 3 months ago, Sadiq Khan was Labour's scapegoat after the party failed to win the Uxbridge by-election. Sir Keir was left fuming. But this week, London's mayor enjoyed the warm embrace of Labour's conference in Liverpool. So has he been forgiven? From there, our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
I've not hugged any other journalist. Can I hug you, though?
Sadiq Khan was on a charm offensive. He spent 3 days at Labour's conference in Liverpool. In the spring of 2024, the mayor will call upon an army of Labour activists to campaign for his re-election. And while he's undoubtedly a popular figure in the party, even here the ultra-low emission zone divides opinion.
The problem with ULEZ is, as much as I understand the Mayor's laudable aims to tackle toxic air quality in London, is that he's tried to tackle a public health crisis with a measure that I think risks worsening cost of living crisis for the businesses and families that are affected.
Siobhan McDonough knocks on doors in her South London constituency every Sunday morning and knows what voters think of the Mayor's scheme.
People are struggling, and so at any point I would welcome his having a look at whether he could extend the scrappage scheme to give people slightly more, or maybe he could delay it for certain groups of people. Anything he could do would be welcome.
In August, the Mayor bowed to pressure from his party and extended the offer of scrappage grants to all Londoners. But he ignored calls for the extension to be postponed until cost of living pressures ease. Sadiq Khan is calculating that by the time of the mayoral election in May, and certainly the general election, much of the anger over ULEZ will have died down. But some Labour candidates are nervous. Are you being tin-eared to the concerns of Labour politicians in outer London?
I've always listened to the concerns of Londoners, whether it's those at Great Ormond Street, those at the Children's Evelyn Hospital, Rosamond, Ado, Kissy, Deborah, all those who are worried about the impact of the ULEZ on them.
In 2022, Labour won control of the North London borough of Barnet. It was a big moment for Sir Keir Starmer, and the party has high hopes of winning the 3 parliamentary seats here, even after the ULEZ extension.
Hopefully, although the Tories will try and use ULEZ and split it, most people are more interested in the economy, the lack of housing, the health service. There's so many other big things. ULEZ is only one thing in that pot.
Labour's failure to win the Uxbridge by-election in July led Sir Keir Starmer to publicly question clean air zones. There is an obvious way Sadiq Khan can silence the ULEZ doubters and critics, and that's if he's comfortably re-elected as London Mayor in May. Simon Harris, ITV News, Liverpool.